Go. What's up, everybody? Dave Savage here. You are tuned into the Trust Engine Mortgage Coach, Brian Hale, monthly December industry leadership message. So, Brian, I have been getting a lot of great feedbacks from very senior people that are really enjoying our monthly conversation. Have you been hearing
I
some
do
good
as
stuff?
well. Yeah, I get I've got tons of posts that and as you know, I'm not telling you what you already know. You distribute it in a lot of different places, and I get a ton of comments back on content. So I think people appreciate them. So I appreciate you for allowing me to participate.
Well, I hate to put the clothes on you here, but we did this as a test this year, and I think we checked the box. I think we did it 12 months. Are you ready to
Yeah,
keep going in
let's
2025?
let's let's renew it.
Okay, so renewed it. You guys heard
Yeah,
that.
I'll sign you up for a 9-year deal.
Well, let's yeah.
Or
I turned
if you could
60
hit the
this
ball out of the
year.
park, I would sign you to a 16-year deal like Soto, but that's a whole different.
Yeah, right.
As a
So
Yankees fan, I'm still in depression, but go ahead.
yeah, no, they did make quite the commitment.
Yeah.
Um, so first of all, if you're tuned into this and you're new to the industry, Brian Hale is a legendary CEO. Although I think something that distinguishes Brian is he was once upon a time a several $100 million a year producer. So he has a tremendous amount of respect for the street, for what it takes to be a successful mortgage professional. Today, he is consulting a lot of CEOs, a lot of C-suites, very involved in a lot of the M&A transactions that get done, and then very involved in a lot of M&A transactions that don't get done. And then he's also providing a lot of leadership to both sales. He's got a platform called the Weekly Roadmap, which we'll probably talk about throughout the call. So check out that on his website. So Brian, let's get into it. It is December 12th. We'll try to get this posted. No, we'll get it posted by tomorrow. Like we got to get it out this week.
All good.
So we're
We're coming up to the holidays, but more importantly, in the mortgage business, we're coming up to that date in December where the entire mortgage industry leaves until about January 12th.
exactly. So I want to, first of all, what is the signal? Like there's a lot of news. We get the news every day. Something new happens with rates, with economy, with M&A transaction. What's the signal? Like what matters most right now, in your opinion, for mortgage leaders?
Well, look, this will sound like a bearish opening, so we can come back to this and clean it up a little bit because I occasionally get accused of being a little more bearish than people are used to me being because I tend to be a pretty positive person. But I think the obvious component here is maybe two components. One is that I think it's going to be a very difficult winter, right? Everybody had a lot of hope for a much better end of the fourth quarter and maybe an early first quarter of 25 prior to the Fed's first move of making the first 50 basis point rate cut. Rates had come down in anticipation of the move. People were seeing refi volume, seeing purchase volume pick up, and listing inventory improving on the real estate side. Woo, bon temps roulette, baby. And then, of course, the Fed made its move and rates immediately lost 60 basis points, right? Going the wrong direction. And then even this week, we saw over the last maybe 10, maybe since the election and the last 10 or 15 days, we saw some improvement in the market. And then today, a little known piece that isn't often a market mover, PPI, the wholesale inflation data, came out much hotter than was expected. That's the bad news. I shouldn't say much hotter, but materially hotter than was forecast. And then, which suggests that retail prices are going to jump as well as those wholesale prices make their way through the marketplace. And then, secondly, as a positive, jobless claims, and I never want to talk about joblessness being a positive, but jobless claims jumped, which suggests a continued weakening in the jobs market. That if you look over a 4 or 5 month trend, clearly the jobs market is slowing and weakening some, both because of jobless claims, because of job creation, because of the unemployment rate. All of those things are up, over a trend. Any given 1 month is hard to look at. Any given 1 week is hard to look at. But I think the market in general would suggest that we're not going to see the kind of interest rates that everybody was hoping for just 2 months ago, 3 months ago in the balance of this year and into early next year. And so the market's not going to bail out the mortgage industry. There's maybe the strongest signal that you take from what's going on in the marketplace. I do think the Fed will cut again in December. I think they may well cut again in January, but I don't think we're going to see the kind of cuts that people were forecasting just a couple of months ago in 25. So that's signal one. Signal two, clearly there's an election, right? And elections have consequences. I think for the most part in the stock market and to some degree the bond market as well, um, President-elect Trump, so I'm not here to talk politics other than just to look at what's the impact to our industry. I think there's a lot that's still not really known. There's a lot of commentary and those kinds of things. But probably the most significant piece for our business has been the suggested appointment of Bessent for the Secretary of Treasury, who is somebody who is well regarded in the markets, who understands the bond market, who, in my view, just looking at his history, he was previously a Democrat. He previously worked for George Soros, which, the right, the Republicans tend to see as the Antichrist. And now it will be part of a Trump and a Republican administration, which suggests to me that he's a balanced thinker, right? That can see multiple sides of the same situation and be prudent in terms of his approach. So that gave the bond market some comfort, which is why we came back a long ways. But then this morning and this week, we've seen some data that would suggest that the Fed may not be able to be as aggressive. And so we're seeing the market fall off. The 10 years at 433 this afternoon. It was at 417 just a day or two ago. And so we've lost it going the wrong direction. All that to say, cold winter. And that is even for you and I who live in Newport Beach, California. We're going to have a cold winter in the market, right? In the mortgage market, and I think in the real estate sales market, because we're not going to see a 5 handle at the front end of 30-year fixed interest rates anytime soon, absent some international event that could drive rates down.
Okay, so let's pull up something I put together, just kind of a collection of current forecasts. Now, I do believe a number of these forecasts could be weeks old, so they're not hot off the.
Several of the forecasts recently are getting revised, right?
Yeah, yeah, but here is just, and by the way, I would love to know who's missing from this list, but we've got NBA.
Brian Hale's missing from that list. I can see right now. I was
Inflation.
once introduced inappropriately as a noted economist to give a speech to a couple thousand realtors, and I got up to the lectern and said, "There's been a horrible printing mistake. It's not noted economist, it's bloated economist." So that's maybe a different deal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do think we should get Zillow's number in here. I
Yeah,
plan
I
to
agree.
add that.
Yeah.
It is interesting that NAR, out of all of these, is forecasting the lowest rates, and that this is the Home Builders Association. They were second lowest. So clearly the wishful thinking.
It looks like some hope in those numbers, right?
Yeah, I was surprised that Saks was that aggressive. And then good news is no one had a 7 handle on here. So that's
Dave, do you know, are these average rates for the year or are these
yeah,
end
these were
years
just
or
like average for the year that
okay, got
what
it.
are people predicting. But what do but clearly no one other than NAR is still saying that there's a 5 handle, and so you don't think we'll see a 5 in 2025. Is
Yeah,
that?
let me clarify. I think we could see a 5 handle, but I think if we do, it'll likely be in the second half of the year or maybe late in the year, so these average numbers wouldn't hold up. But we could, and I think a couple things. If we get a recession, if we have some world event, i.e., a war, a broader war, God forbid another pandemic or something of that sort, all of that are existential events that could change the outcomes. But I think from what we know today, if I had to bet the chips and spin the wheel, I think, somewhere in the low to mid sixes on average could be the right number. I'm not a predictor, I'm not an economist, so I don't want to predict interest rates, but I just don't see the compelling case for materially lower rates. And I've said this before, I think on this call and others. Um, we don't see 2021 level rates likely ever again in our lifetime. Again, absent some existential world event.
Yeah, so we're going to move this opportunity zone. So by the way, guys, when the Fed lowered their rate, there were some very optimistic people that said we could see a four handle. The medium was 5.5, and there was a lot of people in the low fives, and we did get down to 6.2. Uh, as of today, OB is saying 6.6 and some change. That's what the Optimal Blue Mortgage Market Index is saying as of today. I checked out the Rate Watch app just before this. But so we're really, like this is what it looked like a month ago, and this is what the opportunity zone looks like now in terms of,
Yeah.
now, by the way, this is the rate and what I would call the rate and term refi opportunity zone. Tell me what you think about this, though. You know what the biggest opportunity zone is for everybody? And we know that is this. So realtors want to sell homes, realtors want to list homes, and 60% of the market has a rate of two, three, four, low fives. And 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 there's millions of people that want to move up. Like, and by the way, and that could financially afford to move up. And I do believe that one of the skills that loan officers should get is how to have that conversation with a consumer and meet
Yes.
them where they're at and ask them what their goals are, ask them what their hopes are, ask them what their dreams are, and be able to help consumers make informed decisions. And that is a very big opportunity zone. What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I agree totally. I think there are other opportunity zones for originators as well who are really thinking through this. You and I talked I think a few conversations ago about, conversion of your existing leads, right? And if you want to make more money in this business and you have X number of leads and referrals coming in now, how do you convert more? You were gracious enough to introduce me to Jeremy Forcier and join the weekly roadmap
Yeah.
weeks ago, right? It's up on the site if somebody wants to see it. And talking about, first of all, he knew every number about his own conversion and his people's conversion. That's step one. And then two, some very salient strategies on how to improve your own conversion of those leads. But I think absolutely you have to have those conversations. I think in addition to that, when people tend to look just at the mortgage rate, so let's say we've got a client who has 4.5% first mortgage. He may have a 12% second mortgage and a credit card debt at 24%, the combined of which has a weighted impact of his debt that's well up into the six or sevens, that a consolidation refi maybe, if we think about interest rates, that's cool, but you buy groceries and gas with dollars. And if you can save somebody X number of dollars per month on their debt service in total, taking their car loan, taking their second mortgage, taking their student loans, taking their credit card debt, retail debt, or others, and consolidate those, that's an opportunity as well that I think takes, to your point, getting on the phone, getting on Zoom, getting on Teams, doing something, going face to face with your consumer and just say, hey, look, we see that there's record consumer debt, there's record low savings. You have a mortgage at 4 or 4.5. Let's just talk about what your monthly payments look like and whether or not I could do something to improve your position through a debt consol loan as well. I think your point on purchase also applies to that type of conversation as well.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more than that. What are your thoughts on this statement I'm going to say? And I'm actually having a guest. Do you know who Hunter Markwart is?
I don't.
So
I should probably
Hunter,
be talking to you, but I don't.
yeah, yeah. Well, I just wanted to make sure. I mean, he's going to do well over 100 million this year, and then he is a leader of a division of cross country with, I don't think it's over 200, but let's just say 190 loan officers that do, I want to say 2.4 billion. I mean, it's a big, big number. So big producing leader. And he is just a conversion maniac. And right now, I'm going to show a screenshot. He's been writing this newsletter called the Sunday Thoughts for years. I mean, dating back to Oh, look at this. I'm still scrolling to 2024 or
Wow.
2014.
Wow.
So every Sunday he writes this newsletter, and when I read it, it occurred to me that, you know what? The market matters, but your numbers, your sales metrics matter more. And then what he's doing with all of his region right now is he's having them go through and really analyze. You can't see this very well. I'll try to blow it up, but he created a template, and I'll put a link for people to get to this template. But it breaks down all the different categories of conversion. And I'll blow this up in a minute and come back to it. But I don't have to ask you if you agree, because I know you agree. But let's put some leadership energy around that. Like if someone's watched this right now, whether they're a loan officer or a manager, we can't control rates and the market matters, but our own sales metrics matter most. What what
Yeah,
would you
look,
do right now?
here's the analogy I would use, right? I happen to be a big football fan. I like college football, pro football, whatever. At the beginning of every game, 53 team members from each team show up on the field. They're all, talented athletes, one percenters coming out of college, right, that make it to the NFL, that kind of stuff. What determines the outcome of the game is execution. It's planning, it's training, it's practicing, and then execution on game day, right? That's true of any sport. I think it's true of any profession. And so I think what separates $100 million players from $8 million players may or may not be the number of leads they see. Maybe that certainly can be the number of at bats you get. But really, it comes down to how you've practiced, how you execute, and how you deliver for the consumer on an ongoing basis. Dave, can we go on hold?
Yeah, well, why don't I go and show something on my screen while you're working that out? So guys, here's Hunter's metrics. File starts, 237 file starts. Pre-approvals, 139. Credit pulls,
Sorry, Dave.
331. Applications, um, initial disclosures, appraisals ordered, locked, submitted to processing, submitted to underwriting, initial review, decisions, um, resubmittals, final approvals, closing request, funded loans, 144, 145 million in funding. He's in Roseville, California, or no, I don't think he's in Roseville. He's in up in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And guys, he's breaking this down and he is telling his people break this down. And then I think what you're saying is now there's best practices, in all of these steps, there are best practices. Let's break down the best practices. And now let's train on
Right.
these. Let's identify the gaps. And we can't control rates in the market, and it matters. But if we controlled our sales activity, and I do think leads matter, Jeremy brought it up, like you need at least 30 to do any substantial volume, you need 30 leads a month.
Yep.
Uh, but conversion matters more.
Look, I come back to my metaphor just to extend it one step further. You know that every coach, every general manager has metrics on every player that played the game, right? And how they performed individually and then collectively as a team. And so what you just showed was somebody looking at their own data. And you'd have a better handle on this than I would, Dave, but what's the percentage of originators in the mortgage business who have that data on themselves tracked?
Not enough. But by the way, everybody should. Like, I mean,
Everybody should, but I'm going to guess it's under 10% who do,
yeah,
right?
no
And
debate.
so for those who sit next to somebody who's like him and they want to be like him, then you have to be like him. You have to execute and do the kinds of things that help make him successful, which includes doing your homework and
Right.
practicing and executing and getting good at, I listened to Jeremy on our call talk about his scripts, right? And he's not making each one up individually.
No.
he's repeating a well-honed script. I just had Todd Duncan on last Friday, and he was using some scripts to kind of explain how he approaches things, right? And I think he's a brilliant scripter, and the ability to convey and those kind of paint word pictures. Practice, practice, practice. Get better,
Yeah,
improve, and then
yeah,
track your results. So anyway,
yeah. And guys, just to give some evidence, I'll put links. I'm going to put a link down below to Hunter's post. I also got some a new case study data in from Churchill. I'll show that on my screen real quick. Um, so they looked at the loan officers that are just following some really simple best practices at the point of sale that include the delivery of a mortgage coach versus a fee worksheet. And literally the loan officers that were running a credit report and then delivering a different borrower experience were 20 basis points more profitable. And guys, in the mortgage industry, isn't even 20 basis points profitable. So we're literally talking about potentially 2xing it. And of those 20 basis points, 7 of those basis points were less concessions. So, so one, like, and by the way, that's just one best practice. There are other
right.
opportunities throughout the cycle. So, um, okay, I'll put link to both of those down below. What else do you want to make sure in this update? Any other data you want to pull out? Any other piece of
Um,
advice you want to give?
no, look, we've talked about this, I think, on a previous call. You come back to your comment about pursuing purchase business and really helping people understand how to make that transition, even in the current interest rate environment, that kind of thing, into home ownership or move up or whatever the case may be. We know that, you know, 60-70% of all real estate sales last year were done by the top 10 or 12, maybe even less, 6 or 7% of real estate agents in the United States. So how do you know where your referral sources rank? And there are a number of systems, Ingenious and MMI and CoreLogic and all these different guys who have the ability to allow you to swim up, see what your agent's doing, where the rest of their volume is going that you're not getting, what's the totality of the opportunity. Smart marketing companies talk about, what's the total market opportunity, right, in terms of your referral sources, and how do they rank. And you talked a lot about, over the middle part of this year, about the real estate, lawsuit settlements and the impact on the market, the impact on realtors. Are you pursuing the right referral partners? And that's not to say to give up the ones you got, but do you know the ones that you should be doing? Do you know, of your existing referral partners, what's your actual market share with those folks? And do you know why you're not getting 100% market share with your existing referral partners who you are delivering for all the time? And so we're back to data again, Dave, right? So how do we understand that? How do we build a business plan for ourselves as an originator? You are the CEO of your own business. So what are you doing around the analytics? How do you understand your finances? How do you understand your business metrics? How do you understand how you're marketing to the market and who you should be calling on and why you're losing some deals from your existing clients, who you're doing a great job? Is it product? Is it you? Is it you don't have the right opportunity? Did you not make the right conversation with the customer? You have to introspect how you're doing your business. I know you do that in your business, Dave, all the time. Anybody who runs a business. And I think sometimes originators think, well, that's my company's job. That's my boss's job to do the analytics. Yeah, it may be, but it's your job if you want to get better. Dave, I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
obviously it's great when your company helps you. And I advocate that leadership teams,
Should do it.
everything they can do to help loan officers scorecard different steps of the conversion process. And by the way, if you read Hunter's thought, that's what he's doing. He's saying, this is what I did. And now I am providing this spreadsheet and this leadership for all the loan officers that I have some leadership role with. By the way, when you're watching this, there'll already be an interview of Hunter. I am literally interviewing Hunter tomorrow, and I think I mentioned to you, Brian, I'd be happy to introduce you to him. I think he'd be someone
Please.
great for the roadmap. And he's basically going to bring in and give some leadership on this is how we should be helping scorecard conversion. And then as a leaders, this is how we should be helping our loan officers do it. But if you're a loan officer watching this, you got to help yourself. Like it's not like the buck stops with you. And if your company makes it easy to do that, fantastic. If they don't, we are in December. I urge you to go through all the loans that you closed last year, who referred them to you, and look at, am I putting enough love, energy into my best sources? I interviewed the number one female loan officer in the state of Virginia this week, Gina Myers, and I asked her like, hey, when did your career like just
Take off.
when did you become this $100 million producer? And she pretty much told me when I really started managing standards around people that I like, I trust, and I respect, and they like or they trust, respect me back.
Yes.
And the people that don't, and she
Yes.
said, and I started doing a yearly party. And the first year I did it, and I only invited people that, and these weren't just realtors, a lot of realtors and financial advisors who had given me 5 transactions for the year and that met that criteria. And the first year I did it, I had 6 people at the party. And she goes, last week, 5 transactions, they fit that criteria. She had like 34 people. So
Everybody wants to be part of an exclusive club.
yeah, she's
Right.
building this community. Could you imagine what a cool party that would have been?
Yeah, exactly. It's the best part is she can introduce the financial planners to the realtors to, whatever the other referral sources, cross-pollinate. They all get better, do more business, and she gets her share.
Yeah, raise your standards. Think about who you're working with. By the way, I'll put a link to that interview down below too. It was just pure gold. She's one of the best mortgage advisors in America.
I think I've told you the story. Maybe I haven't. I've told others the story. When I was a producing branch manager 300 years ago, I had a lady who was the president of the local association of realtors in the city that I worked. She was kind of the belle of the ball. She was known by everybody, and she was my single largest referral source. Over an event with some of my fulfillment people, I fired her as a referral source. I told her I could no longer do business with her. My business exploded after that because she was sucking the oxygen out of the rest of my team without me really recognizing it. And the ability for them to then provide phenomenal service, great attitudes, great responsiveness to the rest of my clientele allowed me to explode as an originator. And so you can't be beholden to any one, and you have to know what the impact of your referral sources are on you. So she's talking about, trust, respect, right? All those things, that's all part of that component.
Yeah, I love that. So what has been over the past month in your weekly roadmap interviews that you've done, things that you've done? What have been some of the highlights, and then also tell folks how they can get access to those highlights.
Well, we can put a link down below, but the weekly roadmap, let me just quickly tell everybody what it is. It's a live call. You can also listen to it via podcast at 9 a.m. Pacific every Friday, right? In fact, I'm going to be celebrating New Year's in Paris this year with my wife. And on the 27th of December, which is a Friday, when we do that podcast, I'm going to be doing it from Paris. And so everybody gets a chance to, I'm going to try to find some spot where you can see the Eiffel Tower behind me on the film, but neither here nor there. So again, Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can go up on our website. You can go to theweeklyroadmap.com, WKLY roadmap.com. You can go to mortgageap.com, which is my consulting company. And there's a lot of ways to get there. And Dave will put a link in this video. Enough with that. What are the topics? We've had Todd Duncan on to give 45 minutes of coaching around kind of mental attitude, approach, conversion, those kinds of things. We had Jeremy Forcier on. We had Joe Massey from Castle and Cook back on to talk about how he built his team to help him take a month off, go to Europe for a month, and have his organization, his team, originate and close more volume than it did the month before he took a month off to go to Europe and decompress and do those kinds of things, right? We're going to have Dan Skamoska tomorrow on the weekly roadmap to talk about how to improve your LinkedIn performance and presence. And then on the 20th, we're going to have Ivy Zellman, one of the most recognized housing analysts. She called the housing drop in 2008. She's been, named as one of the top executives and analysts on Wall Street, I think 4 different times. She's going to give her perspective on the 2025 housing market on December 20th. So we try to bring content, tactics, specifics, to-dos you can get off the call and do tomorrow. We record everything live. You can download the video. We do a 30-page deck. We give you materials that you can send out to your referral sources. So that's what it's about.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's do this. I know you've got a hard stop coming up here, and I really want to make sure before that hard stop comes that I ask you a question. And I do, guys, there will be links down below to the weekly roadmap, and I just can't
Thank you.
recommend enough that you follow that, you make an informed decision as to
By the
how.
way, it's free, and I'm announcing it here first. We're going to announce it tomorrow. We're going to keep it free through March 31st of next year.
Oh, wow. So
All right.
you're
So people can come in free of charge. Does it fit your philosophy and pocketbook? Is it something that you find value in? And then it's going to be a very nominal subscription for the cost of a Starbucks coffee a day going forward. And there'll be some opportunities for you to get it free for life that we're going to announce as well. So you can't beat the price. Is my
no.
so
So check that out. But here's the last question, and well, who knows? I may have another question before we leave, but we are almost done with strategic planning. I mean, hopefully a lot of folks have already done their strategic planning and you're just dotting some I's, you're communicating it, and you're not starting strategic planning right now. So let's assume that everybody has done most, if not all, of their strategic planning to kick off the new year. But what is the checklist? What is the Brian Hale checklist? And then anything that executives should be doing right now or branch
you're
managers.
talking at the executive level, Dave, not at the individual originator level.
If you let's start with executive, and then if you want to kind of tell them what they should be telling all the way down to the branch, but let's
Yeah.
keep it not low.
So look, if I was running a mortgage company today or running a national sales job, right, with a bunch of originators working with me, I would ask every executive as part of your planning process, and to your point, I hope you've already got it done, but my experience tells me probably not, right? First of all, is your plan in writing? You know
Okay.
this about goals, Dave. Those who write goals down, the likelihood that they achieve some percentage or blow through their goals goes up precipitously if you have a written plan. Do you have a written playbook about how you're going to run your business in 2025 based on what you know today? Will you have to make mid-course corrections as the market moves around? Sure. But it's far better if you have a plan and everybody knows your plan. So one, is it in writing? Two, of you conveyed it to virtually everybody in your business. So people, you're the quarterback of your business. When you yell hut, look at an NFL team. If all 11 players thought they were on a different play, that would be my New York Giants. So I'm being a little, facetious about my Giants. They're terrible. They may be the worst team in the league. It looks like all 11 players on every play are on a different play, right? They didn't get it. So if you have a play designed for 2025, do the rest of your teammates know the play when you yell hut, right? In the process. So is it in writing? Does everybody know the play? Third, if I was still developing that plan or as an assessment of your own plan that you've already developed, is part of that plan, I'd ask you one question. Do you know who your sales force is calling on for referrals? And most importantly, do you know why they're calling on those people? And are you providing any kind of analytics to help your sales force understand what the possibility of success is with the referral partners they're calling on? Have you helped them? I would have less middle management and more analysts who are looking at data, looking at the referral partners that your team is already calling on, and are you helping them target the right referral opportunities with the right products and the right assessment of what their share is with those people today? Fourth, I would be investing in conversion training and bringing in folks like you just talked about or others, or find the best converters in your company. First of all, do you know who they are? Do you know who the best converters are in your company? And are you taking those best practices out to others in your company to try to lift all boats with a rising tide, right? In the process. Because I don't think we're going to get bailed out with some big refi boom or Bonton Roulette. We're going to have, 5.5 million sales this year instead of somewhere less than 4 million sales, which is more likely the outcome here. So you're going to have to take share from somebody else. Now, people are focused on recruiting and buying leads and, the trigger lead legislation that appears now dead with the current administration. Do you have those components in your plan? Yes or no? And if you don't, they aren't written down, you haven't shared them, you're not focused on who your people call on and why, and how to convert more of the leads they're already getting, then I think you're missing. Those things have to be, in my view, a component of a strategic plan going forward. There's probably 10 other things, but I'd also tell you, be careful having 15 things you're focused on, right? What's the essence of the critical few? And can you focus on those? Rinse and repeat, right? That's how you get good.
So I wanna double click on two of those things, and then I want to throw in another idea, although it's more of another double click on another thing you actually just said. But that advice, I'm not going to say less middle management, more analyst, but I'm going to say more analyst. Like you cannot measure, excuse me, you cannot improve what you do not measure. And it's like gravity. It just works. When you
Yeah.
measure it, it improves it. When you scorecard it and you gamify it, especially with competitive loan officers, they compete and they win. And then also put more pressure on your vendors. Like put pressure on us to help show you our ROI and to have them provide analytics. So whether you need more analysts or whether you just need to better organize the analysts you have and the data that you have and the metrics that matter most, guys, you got to do that. Like you could be my belief is if you did two things, one, you better measure what matters most, and that is conversion and different aspects of conversion. And then number two, you train on best practices.
Yeah.
So
And trumpet those who have the best practice.
yeah,
Make sure they're getting the airtime and the reward and recognition.
yeah, and put more pressure on your vendors. Like that is my most important job at Trust Engine is getting loan officer adoption and not just on technology, getting adoption of best practice processes that deliver better results. So it's measure, it's train, it's review, and it's repeat. And so I mean I really think those two things would make a difference. And then I'm going to write a post this week. I can't remember whose social media I saw this on, but I saw this post actually today. I grabbed it and I was just like, oh my God, this is like
Yes.
priceless. Ideas are easy, execution's hard. Consistency is 5x harder. And by the way, it might be 10x. Maybe there should be 10 light bulbs
I'm
down this.
guessing it's 10x.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, this is we don't everybody knows what to do.
And by the
But
way, when you fail at consistency, don't beat yourself up. Pick yourself up and start again.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So, all right. So that was awesome. Any closing
Can
thoughts?
I give one last thought, which is If you look around the landscape in the last 5 years in our business, and if somehow you've deluded yourself to believe that almost everything has changed at some level, you believe it hasn't changed, but it in fact has changed. And if your approach to 2025 is to keep doing the same thing you've been doing for the last 20 years, I think you're making a mistake. I think you have to recognize that things have changed. The environment has changed, which requires you to evolve and change and think differently about the business. If you're not doing that, my humble opinion is you're a dinosaur in search of a tar pit. Now, that might sound bearish and it may sound harsh, but I'm just saying it to force yourself to re-examine your approach to the business. What new ideas are out there? Are you adopting those new ideas? Are you adopting the very issues that Dave just talked about? Are you measuring correctly? Are you measuring enough? Are you measuring the right critical things on a basis to improve? And if you're not, then I wish you the best and I hope the best for you. I hope everybody is a success, but we know not everybody will succeed. Be in the success group. Be in the success group.
I'm not gonna add anything on because I think that was powerful, it's accurate. And I guess I will give hope because I do believe what you need to do to be successful has been clear. It's just having the emotional fortitude in the organization to do what needs to be done. Brian, if someone wanted to consult with you, obviously, the weekly roadmap is a platform for both managers and loan officers, but if a C-suite executive heard this conversation and they want to have a conversation with you and just bounce ideas off you, consider
Three
engaging.
ways. You can call my number, 714-788-8661 is my direct cell phone. You can email me at bhale@mortgageap.com. Mortgage A is an apple, P is in Peter.com. Or you can go up on our website, mortgageap.com, and contact me that way. Feel free to do so. Reach out to me through LinkedIn. Call Dave. He knows my number. There's a lot of ways you can do that.
I'll introduce
If you
them.
could put my contact information in the video, that'd be great.
We'll put it down in the show notes, guys.
That's
And
it.
if you want to talk about conversion and you don't already have a relationship with Trust Engine, like we are turning data into opportunities.
I missed the opportunity, by the way. You want to improve your business? Go to Trust Engine and Mortgage Coach.
I appreciate it. That's okay. I can tell my own, but I've never been more obsessed with loan officer adoption, and not just adoption of technology, but loan officer adoption of simple best practices that deliver data-driven results. Like the data has to prove it. And so reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. I hope you got value from this. If you have not already liked the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, give it, or not like, subscribe to it. We now have over 25,000 subscribers. Share this. If you're a loan officer, share this with someone in your management team. And managers, share this with someone on your management team that you think needs to hear some of the wisdom of Brian Hale. I hope everybody got value. This is a wrap. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we love this business. Let's go out and win.
We'll talk to everybody next month when we do our next update.
There you
Looking
go.
forward to it.
See you in January.